Well, hello. I am Tina Kadish, your podcast host. Welcome back for another episode of the Employee to Entrepreneur podcast. This podcast is for empowering aspiring women entrepreneurs who may want to start a business. They might be in a career change, they might be reinventing themselves. And I bring special guests all the time to share their stories of how they made the transition on their journey from being an employee to an entrepreneur. So today I have a special guest, Giselle Quintanilla. I hope I pronounced it correctly. And let me tell you a little bit about Giselle and how we met as well. But Giselle is an author, she's a speaker, she's a business strategy partner, and CEO of the Ready Writer Services LLC. So she offers writing and editing, and she's been featured in some powerful magazines, Top 50 Empowered Women Empowering Women, and Growth Women's Business Network magazine, and she's been on the cover of Say It Out Loud magazine. So she works with writers and authors who want to share their stories in books and ebooks. And I love that. And she works with women entrepreneurs to develop those effective business strategies. And she also has a podcast called Day One. I've been a guest on her podcast, and I love it that she's also a partner of B3 Media TV. So today, she's on a mission to help people step into their day one and birth their books or business. So her passion is guiding women entrepreneurs unleash their purpose and maximize their income potential. So Giselle will share her contact information. I will have all the info in the show notes. So all of you listeners will be able to connect with Giselle. And hello, Giselle. Thank you so much for being here. And I know that we met at a conference, and I know
Yes,
we shared our story on how it's so important to meet different people, go to different events, step out of your comfort zone, do
yes.
things differently. We talked about that. And I just love it that you're here in my podcast now because we each have
Thank
a
you.
podcast. So, yeah, so Giselle, tell us about your story. How did you transition? Because I know that you were in the corporate world at one time, and today you are an entrepreneur and you're helping businesses as well.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you so much, Tina. I so admire you and I appreciate your your sweet spirit and your heart for you really have a heart and a passion for entrepreneurship and women entrepreneurs. And I think that is what really links us together. And I love that so much for us. Because I appreciate how you are. I've heard you, on your platform, that what you how you speak to your female entrepreneurs that you coach. I have heard you speak at the conference where we met, and you're just so amazing, such an amazing
Thank you.
person. So thank you for
Thank
having me.
you. No, thank you. I love what you're doing because I love that you are helping others write their books, sharing their
And
stories.
yeah,
It's so important to share your story.
yeah,
So,
I love
yes,
stories. I'm a big storyteller, so I love when people ask me about how I got started in entrepreneurship. I don't think that I really had this. I didn't know that entrepreneurship was really something that I wanted to do. I started working in banking, retail banking, when I was 21. I
wow.
dropped out of college, okay? Because, when you're young and you start making a little coin, you think you made it, right? So,
Exactly. You think you made it. You're right. You're right.
I'm making bank, right? And so I was 21. I dropped out of college. My father did not appreciate that in the slightest. But I was working in the bank and I thought that was my career. And I thought that that's where I was going to retire, get my pension. I was going to move away to another country on the beach. I had this whole plan in my head of what banking was going to do for me. Okay.
Okay. It's amazing how we have these visions in our head and not always do they work out.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I can honestly say God's plan was greater. But, I was in banking for 10 years. I had 35 people under me. I had 7 branches and I loved it. I loved helping people. and with their finances, right? And until one day the corporate side took over and they were like, "Oh, this nice little salary that you get and this position that you have is no longer existing." And so I had to either leave with my compensation package, right, my severance package, or I could stay, but I would have to apply somewhere, right?
Oh, yes.
So yeah, so those were the choices. And again, Tina, because in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm going to retire in another country from the bank, blah blah blah. I chose to stay.
Mhm.
And that was probably one of the most difficult times in my life because I settled for a branch manager position in New Hope, Pennsylvania, which is an hour and a half away from my house because
Wow.
that's all I could get. And I was traveling an hour and a half in the morning, an hour and a half in the evening, and it was a 7 day branch.
Oh, wow. You really, oh my God.
Yep.
How long did you do that?
I did that for 9 months.
Mm.
So for 9 months, and that branch, of course, so as if I could not make things harder for myself, right? That branch, now, if anybody knows New Hope, Pennsylvania, the people are very quirky. They're awesome. I love them to pieces. There's money there, right? And so they are used to what they're used to. And if you change things up, it's a no-no.
Okay.
So that branch was turning into a universal branch, meaning the tellers would also take loans. They would also do other things that bankers do. And
Oh,
so I had to train the entire, I had to like put everything in order. It was going through construction. So like literally I put myself in the belly of the beast.
oh, wow.
It
Okay.
was it was just hard. And so it did very well. And what happens is in corporate, when you do very well, they don't want to move you anywhere because you're doing
So
really well.
you're doing really well. So you were doing really well. So did you decide to leave that position?
I did. So when a few months had passed, 6 months had passed, it was doing well. I'm like, you know what? I think I can go ahead and apply for a job closer in New Jersey, probably, but
Okay.
closer to my house. And nobody would take me. Nobody would hire me. They would not move me. And so, I know enough in leadership in the back office to know people talk, right? So I'm like, okay, nobody wants to move me closer to my house and I got to see my kids. So I had to make a decision. So I spoke to my regional manager, whom I love. He was amazing to me, and I put in my resignation. I
Good for you.
resigned from the position. And the day I put my letter in, he came to the branch and he said to me, he's like, "Hey, listen," he's like, "I know, I am all for you doing what's best for you and your family." He said, "But the market manager wants to talk to you." And I was like, this man in my life, Tina, okay, in my life. So, and he was in Egypt on vacation, but wanted to talk to me the day I put my resignation letter in. So, he puts him on the phone and he's like, so we appreciate everything that you've done. You've done such a great job in that branch. We don't want you to leave. You're an asset to the company. How about we move you to Temple? First of all, it's still in Pennsylvania.
Still Pennsylvania. So Temple was still in Pennsylvania. So was
Right.
it further
Still
away
in
from where you
Pennsylvania.
were?
So, and it was, and the area, not the greatest, right? So I said
Okay.
to him, I said, "Thank you so much. I really appreciate you calling, especially because you're on vacation. I really appreciate it. But I have to do what's best for my family. And
Good.
I cannot accept
Good for you.
so, and I should not have to resign for you to finally see that I need to be closer to my family. What my need is, my quality of life, right?
And here's the thing that I want to share because being in this experience, companies care about themselves, their bottom line. They
Right.
don't care about the employees. And I hate to say this, I know listeners here, you might be right now, maybe you're in a role that, yeah, you might agree with me. There are companies out there that are good to their employees, but and this is why it's so important to find the right companies that are aligned with you. But majority of companies, the bottom line is they have to make a profit. We
Right.
as business owners ourselves, I know we also have to make money. However, we do it differently in
Right.
how we work our business. And so they realize your value when when you're resigning. That's
Yes.
sad. However,
Yes.
it's true.
Yes. And here's what I want, your audience to understand, right? Is this is how you know that you really were an asset to the company. Because if I hadn't been, they would have let me go black.
That's right.
Deuces. You
That's
know what
right.
I'm saying?
They
But
would have.
that showed me also you knew my worth. You just didn't think that I would actually leave.
That's
I'm
right.
not, you know what I'm saying? I'm good. Like I know the God that I serve, right? So that was really big for me. And I was young back then, right? Oh, I'm still young, but
You are. You are still young, girl. You are still
I
young.
was younger. And so it was big for me to see in that moment, right? Because I could have settled again. Could have settled again and been like, okay, maybe I'll take Temple. But I understood my worth enough to say, no, this is what you want to give me, and you think it's a gift? To see my kids grow up. And so it takes courage, Tina. It takes courage to still be have another offer there and say no. Because what I want over here is bigger. And even though I don't see it yet, it's worth me taking that risk.
That's
And
right.
that's what I
I love that. So your messaging here, I love a couple things that you said that are golden. Number one, you said you understood your worth. And I want the listeners to really hear this. All of us, we need to understand our worth. We have value. And sometimes we hide our value. We undervalue ourselves so much and we settle because we think, or they say to us, you should be grateful you have a job. I'm not saying that not to be grateful. However,
right.
knowing your worth, and you also, it takes courage to take a risk.
Yep.
I love
Yep.
that. Yes, I wanted the audience to really hear this message from you. So tell us after that what evolved
Woo!
on your journey.
Listen, I wish I could tell you that after that, I found my purpose, I started my business, and everything went golden.
No, it doesn't work out that way. So what was your next step that you took after you resigned?
So I had no plan B. Like, no, like I literally resigned and was like, what are we doing? And so my mom was like, you just started in-home daycare. You're so good with kids. I don't know. I was like, sure, Tina, I would never, ever. I love babies, but never.
That's one job I will never do is work in a daycare taking care of children. I have two kids. I raised two kids, but no way would I do
He was,
that.
he was like, I did my part.
Exactly. We did our part. However, you made a key point. You said you didn't have a plan B. And
Did
so
not.
it's important that we do have a plan B. So I want all of you to understand here, when you're in your jobs, even if you may not even think about entrepreneurship, and I'm not saying that that is the path, but always have a plan B.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the
You,
message.
you should definitely have some sort of inkling of what you want to do before you leave. Right now, I will say that it was definitely God's grace on my life. So I started the in-home daycare. I did that I want to say almost a year. And then I got scared. And because, my husband at the time had lost his job. So I went to a job at a daycare. And from there, I was let go and I started, what did I do? I started transportation business with my husband at the time. That wasn't it. I did MLM, right? Multi-level marketing. For those who don't know, that wasn't it. And, one day I'm sitting on my bed. I'm like, God, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm just like, God, what do I do? Like, I want to do what you want me to do. And one of my friends did, she did a platform like challenge, a 30-day challenge. And so I took the challenge and then she went on to work with me. And I'm so grateful for her. I say it every time I tell this story. If she had not taken that time to sit with me and say, Giselle, if money wasn't a factor, if you didn't have to worry about bills the rest of your life, what would you work in? What would you do for work? And
Yes.
that question, Tina, changed my life because I was like, I want to write. I love writing. I'm passionate about writing. And she helped me start my blog. I published my first book. And then that led to other people wanting to write their books. And I helped them. And from there, my friend, the one friend was like, you have to do this. You're great. That's what you do. You're so good at this. And so I prayed, right? Because I had to see clarity. Like, listen, I done did all these businesses that didn't work, Father. I need to make sure that if I'm going to do this, it is truly what you want me to do. And so,
Beautiful.
I prayed, I did research, right? So it's not just about faith and works together. So, yes, I had faith. Yes, I prayed. Yes, I saw God, but I also did my research. What is editing, right? What does it entail? I spoke to somebody else who is an editor. I asked her questions and I'm like, oh, I love this. This is what I want to do.
Good.
And so it
Good.
was really based on my passion. And from there, I started Ready Writer Services October 2018. I started Ready Writer Services. It has been an amazing ride. I love what I do.
Beautiful. And so when you shared your story about number one, you had faith. Number two, you did your market research. And this is something that I recommend. And as a
Yes.
business coach, do your research. You might have an idea, but you want to test it. You want to do some market research. Is
Yep.
this something that is a need? What is the need? What is the problem that you would solve? Like, who are the
Right.
people you're going to work with, that you want to work with? You want to be clear, gets back to clarity
Yep.
what you want to do and why do you want to do it? What is that transformation that
Yeah.
your people that you work with would get from working with you? It is so
Yeah.
important for that. So for the listeners here, yes, you might have a business idea, do the research, have that
Right.
faith, have that belief in yourself. Also look at what are your skills? What are your gifts, your
Right.
strengths? Because everything that we've done in the corporate world are transferable, that we can bring them into a
Yeah.
business. We can bring them into another career at a company as well.
Yeah.
All right. So
It's
no
so
discount those skills.
right. I love that you said your skills, your gifts, right? What are those things? Because I will say in business, you cannot be all things to all people. That is not what you should be, right? You
Exactly.
definitely have to understand your giftings and your skill set because you need to be able to understand who you are called to serve, right? Who you
Right.
are called to, the problem that you were created to solve, right? You need to just know because it'll save you a headache. Trust me, you don't want to be all things to all people. That is not what you are purpose because you work best when you operate in your genius.
You
That's what
do.
we do.
You do. You do best. And here's the other thing that I want to offer for those of you also. This is something that I've learned in my journey is you want to find a coach, you want to find a mentor. You want
Mhm.
to align yourself in other communities where you can get that support, that guidance. You cannot do this alone. You need
Yeah,
other people to help you because that will really support you and shorten your learning curve, your
yeah,
time. And you don't even know sometimes if you're doing something right and you're spinning your wheels. Would you agree,
right.
Giselle, on that?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you don't know. And so those little, you need to know, you need to watch out for those confirmations, right? Those, okay, this is what I'm good at. And here's the thing. I want to encourage people in that it's okay to if something doesn't work out
Yes.
because those things measure, if they're measurements, right? Excuse me. If something fails, then you understand that, okay, now it's just an opportunity to either do it differently or to do something different. Do it differently or do something different.
Right.
But that's what failure does. So it's okay if something doesn't work. You don't kind of scrap the whole thing, right? You don't throw the baby and the bath with the bathwater, whatever that
Yes.
saying is. You
Yes.
don't do that.
Exactly.
You just pivot.
You can pivot. And so I just love hearing you today. So as we wrap up, we're coming to a close. Tell me, what would you recommend would be a first thing that someone should do? They're on the fence right now. They might be right now in a cubicle and they're like, I gotta get out of here. I'm
Yeah,
just tired of being here.
yeah,
What is
yeah.
something that you would recommend?
Who? Okay, the first thing, I would say the first thing is sit with yourself because it's really important for a few reasons. It's important to understand your makeup. How were you created? Right? We talked about the skills, the gifts, all those things that you were created to do. So you have to know you and understand that. I know I have a gift with words, right? So those I operate in that genius because I understand that. So you have to sit with you first for that, but also for the adjustments in discipline because entrepreneurship takes discipline.
Yes, it
And
is.
so, right? So sometimes we have these great dreams and we're like, I want to do XYZ, right? But we don't have the discipline to actually execute.
That's right.
So you got to sit with yourself to be like, Giselle wants to write. She loves writing. She manage her time very well. So that's what I need to. And all of that, Tina, is part of counting the cost. You got to count the cost, right? So you know what your gifts are, your talents, your abilities, all those great things that God gave you. You also the things that you got to work on that you're not great at, that your imperfections are there. And those are not bad things, but when you know them, you can work on them.
That's
So
right.
see
That's
with
right.
yourself.
I love that. That's great advice. So, Giselle, how can people connect with you?
Oh, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram. Facebook and Instagram are both, the handle is at GISIQUIN, Jissy Quinn, GISIQUIN. Follow me on social media. I'm extremely active on there. And definitely connect with me. Sure. I'd love to get to know the viewers.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes, we will have all your info in the chat, in the show notes. As I said, I am Tina Kadish, your podcast host, employed to entrepreneur. Until next time, that we will have new guests. And thank you so much, Giselle, for being here today. It was
Oh,
an honor.
thank you too.